Welcome back to my channel, guys. In this tutorial we'll learn how to cut this simple sheep dress with this ruffle design going on here at the chest. So the inspiration is on my thumbnail. You must have seen it already. So let's get into the tutorial. So I'm going to be cutting the front and the back together. So I folded my fabric into four. First I folded into two like this, so you can see, and then I folded again into four. And while I folded, I left some inches there which I'll be needing for zipper allowance. So that one is going to be the back. So this place is on fold, as you can see. So I left about 1.5 inches there for my zipper allowance. So I'm just going to be marking it to indicate that that area is my zipper allowance. So I'll chalk it down to my hem. So that's my zipper allowance of 1.5 inches. I'm just going to draw a straight line so that you would see that this is my zipper allowance. Now I'm going to start taking my measurements. So from my starting point, which is my neckline, which I'm marking right now, is going to be my starting point. I'm going to mark my chest line of 8 inches from there, and then I'll mark it. Remember, this is a shift dress, okay? There's no dash or anything, it's just a shift dress. Then I'll mark my waist, which is 16 inches, which is from my waist to from my neck to my waist 16. Then I'll mark from my waist to my hip is 9 inches, which I marked right now. And then I'll take my full length and I'll add 1.5 inches allowance to it, or 2, depending on how bold you want your hem to be, how bold you fold your hem. I'm sorry the camera is not showing, but there I was just marking my full length, right? So after I'm done marking, I will now take my um my shoulder. Remember, this place is on fold, and here is my zipper, which is my back. That's the one beneath is my back, which is the one that has the zipper allowance. So from there, from my front, which is the part on fold, I'm going to take my shoulder measurement. My shoulder is 14 inches, which is 14 divided by 2 is 7. I'm added half inch to it to make it 7.5. I marked the same thing on my chest line, just so that I would draw a straight line to be able to draw my armhole curve. So now that I've marked my shoulder, I'll go ahead and take my neck width and neck depth. Remember, I'm starting on my front, which is the side that is on fold. So I'm marking a neck width of 3 inches for my front and a neck depth of 3 inches from my front. I'm going to connect it like this. Then for my neck depth for the back, I'm going to be making it 1.5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to connect it like this as well. So I'll be cutting the neck depth of the back first, then I'll just cut out the front afterwards. So I marked my shoulder slope there of 1 inch and I connected it to my neck width. The next thing I'm going to do is to take my circumferences. Now my bust line, I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4, and I will add 3 inches allowance to it. Now 1.5 inch is for ease allowance and 1.5 inch is for seam allowance. Like I said, it's a free dress, so it's not going to be tight, right? So I'll do the same thing for my waist divided by 4 plus 3 inches. Remember, the 3 inches is 1.5 ease, 1.5 seam allowance. The same thing for my hip divided by 4 plus 3 inches allowance, right? So take all your measurements, and then you're going to connect the points like this, from my bust to my waist to my hip, and then a straight line down to my hem, because it's a straight curl, right? So you make it straight down to your hem. Now I'm going to mark my armhole curve. Then I'll go ahead and cut this out. Remember, we are cutting both the front and the back, so I'll just go ahead and cut. But like I said, I'm going to cut the back neck depth first. Okay, watch me. I cut it out, cut out my zipper area, and then I'll raise my front and then I'm going to cut out the back. But before that I will contour the back. So I'm going to mark half inch in on my back, that's the back area on my waistline, and I'm going to connect it to my bust line or chest line like this, and then to my hip line like this. Now this is the zip or back contour to remove any bulginess at the back, because our back is not straight, our spine is kind of hollow or curved. So in order to remove that bulginess or excess fabric there, just do this contour. Okay, so you just curve it out like this to make it a little bit curved, to take the shape of your back, right? So I'm done with that, and like I said, I will raise my front and I'll cut out the front neckline like this. So this is ready. I'm going to just notch my zip so that I will know where it is. Now I'm just going to cut out the design for the front. So on your shoulder, you're going to measure what is left of your shoulder there. Whatever you have, you're going to divide it into two. Like I'm folding my tape, I want to get the midpoint of the value that I have there. I'm going to mark it, and then I'll come from my shoulder downwards. I'm going to mark about 17 or 18 inches. Now it depends on what you want, but I think 18 inches is the highest you can do. But I marked 17. I'm going to connect it to that point, midpoint of my shoulder there, with a slant like this, and I'm going to cut this off. Now this is for the design in front. I'm cutting it off, and I'm going to use this thing I'm cutting off to cut on another fabric. Now whatever you want to cut it on depends on you. In the thumbnail, I think they used a sequin for it, but I'm going to be using a different fabric, an Ankara fabric like this one. Now I'm going to be using it to cut exactly this, so it's going to be replacing that side. So I folded this fabric, and I'm going to place this one that I already cut on it and cut exactly this shape. But I'll be adding my allowance, the seam allowance I'll use to join it back to where I cut it out from. So make sure that the folded end is also on the folded end of the fabric that you folded, and you're going to just align everything, make sure everything is equal, and then you're going to add 1 inch allowance. So add the 1 inch allowance from the top to the bottom um part of this, like I am doing. I'm just creating a broken lines with my chalk of 1 inch. I'm going to just cut it out like this. So you also cut out the neck and then the shoulder. They are supposed to be the same. The only difference is the 1 inch you're adding to it. Now I have this other fabric. I won't be needing the green one again. This is the one we'll be using for that design in front. Okay, so I'll go ahead and cut the facing for this outfit, because I won't be using a lining. If you're using a lining, you can decide to turn with your lining. So this is what we are trying to achieve here. We'll join this to this part of the dress in front, but we'll also attach the frills. Okay, now for the sleeves, I'm going to cut the basic sleeve that is going to be a little bit of like a puffy sleeve. So I'm marking my starting point. So from my starting point, I'll mark the length of the sleeve. Now I marked 19 inches. This is including the seam allowance. We'll be adding an elastic at the hem. So I marked 11 inches there, and I brought it down also. I marked 11 inches because the armhole circumference is 9 inches, and I added 2 inches to it, which is 11. So I'm going to just use my free hand and draft my basic sleeve, and I'll cut this out. Okay, so the hem is supposed to be bigger or big, okay, so that by the time you attach your, okay, I eventually added a little bit of inch, like 1 inch, just for the hem right there, but the length depends on what you want. Okay, I'll cut two of these, and yeah, that is it for the sleeve. By the time you attach your elastic at the hem, it's going to kind of rush it up a bit to create that you know what's it called, puffy effect like this. I just notch the center there, and this is the strap I'll be using for my pleats in front. The length depends on how much fabric you have, and the width is 5 inches. Or you can actually and multiply that thing in front, just measure it and multiply it by 2, and you're going to be using it to attach here. So I've gone ahead to join, like fold the this thing, the hem of this, and also the top part and the bottom part. I'm going to be pleating it on this, but I'm going to leave half-inch allowance because I'll be joining this shoulder, right? So leave half-inch for joining of your shoulder, and you start pleating, or you gather whichever one you want from this all the way around to this. Remember to leave half-inch for joining the shoulders. This is what we are trying to achieve. So when you're done pleating it, this is what I had when I was done. I used a quarter of an inch to join to pleats. So this is what I have. I will now place this one on it like this. This should be sandwiched, the pleat should be sandwiched in between. Okay, now it's front facing front, remember, and I'm going to join it with half of an inch. I've done doing that. This is what it looks like. Can you see that the pleat is sandwiched between them, and there's no rough edges? The rough edges are actually at the back. I'll go ahead and turn the front and the back with the facing or the lining, whichever one you're using. I would also join the sides by 1.5-inch allowance that we used when we were cutting, and then I would come back. So this is how it's looking already. I would go ahead and join the shoulders and the sides. I've done that already. I've joined the shoulders. I've also attached my zipper at the back, and the next thing is to attach my sleeves. So I'm going to attach my sleeve now, and then after attaching to my armhole, I'm going to hem the down part and attach my elastics. So for the elastic, you're going to measure wherever the sleeve is stopping and the round of the wherever the sleeve is going to be, and minus 2 inches from it for your elastic. So I'm done doing all of that, guys, and here is the outcome. I hope you found this video helpful. Please, if you did, kindly click on the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching.